I love that guitar tone as well. A little bit abrasive, a little bit kind of distorted, but not too much. It's finally happened. My Bloody Valentine has music on Spotify. It has music on Apple Music. I can listen to it. And you know how happy that makes me. Happy enough to get back onto YouTube and start recording, because like My Bloody Valentine, I take my sweet time with these videos. But I am here today to present to you my first initial reactions listening through their first record, Isn't Anything. And later on in the week I will be posting another video where I react to the selection of EPs that they released, all of which are now on Spotify. And up until this very moment, I have never taken the pleasure to listen to. And the main reason I'm recording this video today is to post my actual reaction to their first record. Mainly because it hasn't been on streaming services. I think I got Loveless on CD when I was like 15 or something. And I'm really looking forward to hearing how they went from this first album to Loveless, which, as I say, is one of my favourite records. Okay. So, the first impression I'm getting of this first track, Soft as Snow but Warm Inside. The drums in it are really heavy, a lot more kind of pronounced than they were on Loveless. Almost hip-hop in their production, a lot more accented, you know. I think we got this kind of gated drums vibe going on here. Also, the vocals are kind of mixed higher here than they are on Loveless. It's the guitar that really differentiates this from like a typical rock song, because I can't work out exactly what chord it's playing on first listen. Like, as I say, the bass and the drums are almost, you know, kind of hip-hop, you know. Kevin Shields' vocal performance is relatively conventional for a rock song, but these guitar tones that we've got here are very different to anything I've heard, and I can see how they went from this to Loveless, as I say. It's this weird kind of airy chord that kind of punctuates these snare hits, and then we have a more kind of distorted guitar that's a bit more constant in the background, with Belinda's backing vocals also coming onto it here. So it creates a really interesting texture where you've got these two very different guitar sounds doing different things. So this second track, Lose My Breath, I think Belinda takes over here as the main vocalist on the track. And there's a very sharp juxtaposition in the sense that this has like hardly any drums at all. The drums are a lot lower in the mix if they're there at all. The snare is quiet and it kind of drops in and out. So we're going from this very sort of aggressive kind of hip-hop-esque drumming pattern to a lot more muted, a lot more in the background, with Belinda's vocals kind of, again, taking more presence in the mix. The sort of iconic My Bloody Valentine sound is the fact that the mix is dominated by guitars. And again, here we have an acoustic guitar, as well as, I presume, an electric sent through a ton of effects pedal. Again, creating this really nice texture where it's punctuated by these sharper kind of acoustic strums, if you will, with the more atmospheric guitar in the background, kind of adding thickness to that texture, almost making it feel dreamlike. Again, it's kind of hard to make out what the vocals are upon first listen, especially for My Bloody Valentine, as I say. In spite of the fact the vocals are probably higher in the mix than they would be for Loveless, it's still kind of difficult to make out what they're saying. Okay, this is track 3, Cupid Come. Oh wow. Okay, again, we got a bit of a difference here between the quite sleepy preceding track and this one. Again, one like really signature MBV kind of technique is the tremolo kind of moaning kind of guitar sound that Kevin Shields will make with his guitar. Or it might be Belinda. I don't actually know who does it. I'm sorry. Oh, this is nice. Okay, so this is a little bit more upbeat, but it's like a kind of... It's like more of a pop song. I kind of get that. The extended ninth, I think it is on that C, the final chord there, adds to it. Ooh, I like the direction they're going with this. Forget your vanity, come Cupid, come. I'm guessing this is a love song. I'm kind of getting that vibe. It's a bit more kind of upbeat, a little bit more poppy. I love the kind of change in the structure, how they'll go back to this intro sequence of the two chords with the kind of tremolo guitar to punctuate between these verses, which are quite soft and just nice to listen to, but a bit more upbeat than the previous song nonetheless, and it kind of adds this nice tension. The tremolo really adds a lot to the song here. The other thing to note really with this song is that I can really note the presence of the bass in this track, and it really grounds it, you know, because I feel like the guitars at times, as I say, are quite ethereal, quite spacey, swirly. Not so much in this song. This is more of a conventional song. They're not really going too hard on the effects other than this tremolo and the kind of intersection. I love this outro here, by the way. Let's just come up. Yeah, what was I saying about there being no guitar effects? There's a ton here now. Wow. This is abrasive now. A lot heavier, a lot more almost punky. The drums are faster, tempo's increased. I love how raw... I say that in a relative term because obviously, you know, a lot of producers were doing this at the time. In sort of late 80s, you know, you kind of had it. Pixies, Surfer Rosa, you'd have Steve Albini doing this. Other than the effects they're using, I love how raw the guitar sound is sort of primal on this track. It kind of supplements the previous one really nicely. I'm loving, actually, with these 4 tracks intro, the sequencing, you know, how one flows into the next and they all offer different things. We have the kind of defiant, punchy opening track, a soft second one, a quite poppy, upbeat third one, and then this one, which is just quite heavy. I mean, I think this song, being so heavy and visceral as it is, almost showcases the weakness of not having the drums higher in the mix. I don't know, maybe that's just a personal preference, and obviously the whole aesthetic of shoegaze is that it's guitars, 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 you know, drums are a bit lower down, but I can kind of barely make out the kick in the mix, and okay, this is a complete left turn here. What is going on? I love how it goes quiet when Belinda's singing No More Sorry, you know, kind of stops and then just hits you really hard. No percussion once again here. Just this vibrating guitar sound, this kind of high-pitched, really resonant. It almost sounds like Indian, like a sitar or something. It's crazy. It's unlike anything I've heard before. Wow. It's really cool. I kind of want to just shut up and listen to it for a minute. Oh... And I love after that sort of third repetition, having that extended pause. I was thinking it was over then for a second, and it just comes back. And then I love this counter melody that comes over this really thick, whatever the hell it is, on guitar. So this is the 6th track, All I Need. So I was thinking right up until this moment, other than maybe the previous track, that this was a lot more kind of raw than Love This Is, but holy God, right, this is... delay everywhere, reverb everywhere. I'm in some kind of aircraft hangar. Kevin Shields' voice echoing one way, and the guitars. I think one thing I really like about this track as well is that the drum almost feels like a heartbeat. It's just a kick here, and it kind of propels the song along. I feel like if it didn't have that, it would have no backbone almost. It would just be a bunch of swirly guitars. Right, okay. Again, kind of similar to After Cupid Come. Track 7, Feed Me With Your Kiss. Wow. So after those really 2 quite quiet songs, a bit more dreamy, this is an abrupt awakening. The bass is really quite dirty here, like grungy sounding bass. The drums are quick, quite frenetic. And the guitars... It's almost hard to figure out what key the song's in, you know? It's just really quite grungy, quite dirty. And then, like, Kevin's vocals, just like most of the other songs of this record, just kind of hardly anything's done to them, you know? There's no real crazy reverb on the vocals as such. It's all about the guitars, which make up the bulk of the mix here again. I think when I focus on Kevin's vocals as such, that's the only real way I can work out what key this song is in. And that sort of adds that harmonic clarity that you're lacking from the guitars, but I kind of like that. Again, probably more of a conventional rock song, although, you know, the way that sort of certain chords are hung on to for longer than others. Okay, I'm liking how they sort of extend it out each time with a snare hit, and this sort of... It's really about the drums, this song, okay? You know, I was complaining earlier about the drums not being high enough in a mix. A lot more rhythmic, and they kind of keep delaying the chord progression from starting again more and more each time it repeats, with more and more hits on the snare, and it's primal, you know. I like that a lot after the sort of kind of ethereal out there. This is a lot more down to earth, a lot more grounded, this song, with the heavy bass returning again. Okay, I think we got another kind of equally frenetic but not quite as loud song next in Sue Is Fine. The guitar's a little bit airier, you know, a bit janglier, almost lighter in the mix, not quite as heavy and as muddy as the previous song. And the drums, though, almost identical, like very kind of quick BPM. I don't know what it is. It's very similar to the previous track. This is probably one of my favorite guitar tones they've got on the record so far, actually, this kind of lighter tone. I think I needed that after the previous song, which I liked for one track, but probably wouldn't want the whole album full of. And this is kind of a refreshing release from that. This also matches really nice with the bass tone, which again, is very quite heavy on this track. I really like how the bass sounds in this last few tracks, actually. They did a really good job of the bass production, and it complements this guitar really nicely. On some tracks better than others. But here, it works really nicely. Several Girls Galore, track number 9. Oh, this is nice. Oh my god. Okay. This is like one of the more conventionally poppy tracks I've heard. Firstly, I can hear the kick, and the kick is really pronounced. Again, we're going back to this kind of hip-hop kind of drums where it's a lot more grounded. Perhaps that's because there's no bass. I'm waiting for the bass to kick in here. And Belinda's vocals are brilliant on this track as well. Kind of deep, a little bit more earthy, almost androgynous. But the kick pattern is carrying this song. I love it. And then we get these extended bits where the chords are allowed to ring out. And when she doubles these vocals in the presumably chorus bits with an octave higher, that really accentuates them. It's like a distorted pop song. Kind of reminds me of like the Jesus and Mary chain, that kind of thing. I can see how they kind of went from that to this. I feel like I'm still kind of waiting for the bass to come in at some point. Oh, there we go. Okay, there it is. There it is. That's the moment I was waiting for. It's only 2 minutes long, man. I was kind of hoping that'd be longer. And well, okay, this next track is just abrasive. I was kind of enjoying that. Oh, well. This is the 10th track. You Never Should. Okay, you were just teasing this. Okay, it's very much like the previous song. This is a pop song. This feels really nostalgic, actually. Okay, it reminds me of Boys of Summer by Don Henley, but with more distortion. A comparison I'd make is with When You Sleep on Loveless again. The juxtaposition between the chorus and the verse is really nice as well, like how we get these backing vocals coming in, which kind of glissando, they kind of glide up the keys. That's really nice. I love it when Kevin and Belinda sing on the same track. But yeah, you just don't expect it when you have this really distorted, like probably the most abrasive guitar I've heard on a record other than Feed Me With Your Kiss, in between these sections, which kind of throws you off. It just feels nostalgic, as I say. When that guitar comes out, I think I prefer it, you know. This is the 11th track, Nothing Much to Lose. We've got so many of these snare rolls over and over again. Just like machine guns kind of firing off on each ear. I love the intro and then how it kind of transitions to this quieter verse, or at least less thick texturally, with just a guitar to bass. And then again with these backing vocals that really bring life into the piece. I love it. No, again though, rhythmically, this is really interesting, and how it kind of varies between the kind of quieter verse. Again, you know, Nirvana, Pixies. I'm going to make that quite loud comparison here. Okay, this is kind of different. It reminds me a little bit of an upbeat version of the second track, Lose My Breath, in the fact that it's got this acoustic guitar with the distorted electric one in the background that we haven't had so much. Like, they do this later, obviously, on tracks like Sometimes. It's funny how like they could have had a chorus there, but instead they just decided to vocalize and go ooh the whole chorus. Which isn't something I'm entirely opposed to. Like, fair enough, it's My Bloody Valentine. I just feel like there could have been a hook there that wasn't, but maybe that's missing the point of the music entirely. To be honest, I don't know. I don't want to criticize it too much because obviously my first listen, but I was kind of expecting something a little bit more impressive than this for the final track, to be honest. I can kind of get what they're going for with it, but for an album that's been structured in a sequence as well as this up until this point, it almost doesn't feel like an ending track, you know? I don't know. The fact it doesn't have a chorus, it's not quite as visceral or dynamically contrasted as previous songs. It is pretty conventional in the sense that it doesn't have any crazy effects going on. It's just quite a simple song, you know, this acoustic kind of driven tinge to it. I don't know, maybe I feel a little bit underwhelmed by the ending almost, but perhaps I'm just being overly critical here. And that, my friends, is the album. Let me take these off. So a few comments I would make on it, having listened through for one time only. I can understand why people laud this as critically as they do and think it's brilliant, because I can really see that. From my initial perspective, obviously I'm going to compare it a lot with Loveless, as I've said several times at this point in the video. It's a lot more raw, I think, and there are less effects going on. There's less kind of studio treatment, you know. Kevin Shields clearly didn't spend 2 years recording the tambourine and bankrupting Creation Records on this album. But the songs are really well written. I love some of the chord progressions. I think structurally they're very clever, you know, the way that things are written. Rhythmically, I think it's fantastic. And my favourite track on the record was Several Girls Galore. I just need that kick, you know. I kind of need that rhythmic driving, and I really love that after kind of a couple of more upbeat songs with slower chord progressions, you know. I love the dynamics on songs like No More Sorry and All I Need, that kind of lull, but it gets a bit quieter in the track list at that point, and we go more shoegazy at that point and more effects, and I feel that was really needed, and I love that. So there you go, those are my thoughts on the record. Obviously I will probably form more of a cultured opinion regarding lyrics, meanings of songs, you know, that whole shebang the more I listen. But in terms of my first impression, I really enjoyed that and can understand why it's as popular as people make it out to be. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please like if you like the video, comment because it, you know, helps the algorithm and stuff, and subscribe if you want me to be able to actually support the band and not rely on Spotify's £5 a month student subscription.